Dear Kismet helps you dive into the mysteries behind cardology, or the astrology and numerology of the playing cards. We answer questions from our tribe and discuss world events and celebrities, all through the lens of this magical, ancient system. Our goal? To help you align with what is written in your cards and to raise the collective consciousness of the planet. If you go to our website, itiskismet.com, and enter your birthday, you'll get to your card's one-stop shop where you will find a 15-page report on your card and much, much more. You can also go to our site to find the cosmic connections, also known as the planetary energies, between you and another person. Now is the time for cardology to become as encoded in the collective energy as astrology and numerology are. So please tell your friends about Kismet. Welcome back to Dear Kismet. My name is Laura.
I'm Candy.
And I'm Paula.
And we are starting with a new format. So we are going to be doing one topic per video, introducing videos more often to our YouTube channel. So in this episode, we have a question from a viewer about the United States.
Let's dig in. Dear Kismet, the U.S. just turned 241 years old. I was wondering, what do the cards say about that? And what is the USA's card?
The United States is the Jack of Diamonds with its July 4th birthday, and this represents the young businessman, entrepreneur, and we as a country are in pursuit of innovation and introducing our values to the world, as Jacks tend to do. Jacks are also often impulsive and immature, but they can also be lighthearted, creative, and witty. Our planetary ruler, or our second most important card, the King of Clubs, sits in our moon position, meaning that we prize knowledge. The more we know, the better we feel. Kings are often arrogant and feel they must persuade others to their point of view. Sound familiar? And the birthday being 241 years old, we have to kind of go into the card system and understand that we kind of go through this reset every 45 years. So it's like the card you have when you're 0, repeat again at the age of 45, which is sort of like why there's a midlife crisis thing that goes on with people. It's because they're getting like an ability to reset. And that happens again when you're 90, and we extend that all the way out to 241 years. We're talking about the age of 60 for the last year and then 61 for this year. So Paula is going to first go into the cards that we had for the year last year at the age of 60. And there are 5 cards that we have each year that sort of like govern the whole year. And then we're going to just dive into those important cards. But if you're interested in your cards for the year, you can actually get a reading, a one-on-one reading to find that out. So we're going to let Paula take it away.
Okay, there are 7-year periods that we travel through. The United States last year was the Saturn year of a 7-year period, which began in 2012. So just kind of keep this framework in mind. We began a 7-year period that was focused on, now I'm going to tell you the long range card, which means this is the big goalpost, was the 4 of Hearts and the 8 of Hearts. So the 4 of Hearts, this last 5 years, we have been dealing with feeling insecure and not safe emotionally. And I once had that thought come to me kind of in the midst of all this political turmoil, that people gravitate towards what makes them feel safe. So this is where we see a lot of the radicalization and the polarization and people feeling freaked out. It's because what's really happening, task as a nation and individuals, is to figure out what makes us feel safe. The card that's coming up is the 8 of Hearts. That's the other long range card, and that is, I've nicknamed it the balls card. So this is the flip side of fear and insecurity, is to find your courage. So this card also has asshole tendencies. So that's kind of obvious, kind of the juxtaposition of fear and courage that we're finding is how do we compensate for when we feel really scared and insecure? Sometimes we turn into an asshole, and the virtue in that is that we're trying to find our power. Gentle, loving way to say, that's why we have felt kind of so fucked up and angry at each other, and why Facebook has gotten so ugly. And if you can just say, these are people trying to find courage and safety, and how to answer the question, well, they should be. This is me saying they should be finding the answer to that question within themselves instead of in changing other people. So that's the real work here, is how do I make myself feel safe and find courage?
Okay, so we know that every year of the 5 cards that we have, there are 2 cards that go together, and it's the Pluto and result card. So the Pluto card is like your challenge for the year, and then the result is sort of the outcome. So Paula, what were the Pluto and result cards for last year for the US?
Okay, so the last year with the Pluto was the Seven of Diamonds, which is a crisis of finding your unique value and your preciousness, and also it's a fear around not having enough money to pay your bills, and it's a survival thing. But the core of that is that your preciousness and your value lies in your uniqueness. So we could say that over this past year, we've really been considering, okay, in this task of making myself feel safe and secure, maybe I need to maybe I need to answer to the voice inside myself that says, this is what you're really good at, and this is where you bring unique value into the world, and maybe this is how you can actually make some money and enjoy some prosperity instead of just survival. And interestingly, the result card of that task last year is the Ace of Spades, which represents a new career, transformation, a new identity, career. Also, there are two subpoints with this, three subpoints with this card. It represents the revelation of secrets. So that in itself is fascinating. Vault 7, yada, yada, all this secret stuff coming out. That's happening on a lot of levels. The second thing is that it's Donald Trump's planetary ruling card. So, yeah, hello, Donald Trump. The other thing that it represents is the destiny cards. It's the card that represents this whole thing that we're doing around the cards. And so we feel very strongly that it's time for the revelation of this onto the American scene. I just want you all to know, ever cardology conference is happening in October. So it's like, yes, here it is, coming on the scene, and we're right on time.
Great. Thanks, Paula, for that reflection and looking back, which is helpful just to sort of anchor the cards because we know what's happened. But let's talk about what's coming up. So what's this year look like when the U.S. Is in that, 61st age bracket?
In the 7-year cycle, we're going from a Saturn year into a Uranus year. And this is when the tension begins to break and ease. So that's the personal experience. And I'm hoping that we will all kind of feel that as the year progresses. And keep in mind, we're in a couple of weeks out from our birthday, and we've got a whole year to experience this, but there should be a lessening of tensions. And also the Uranus year is a year to integrate the tough lessons that you learned in the past year. So although the security issues, discovering our sovereignty, our true power, I really think that's what we're going to be working on. Okay, so if we come back into the idea of the 7-year process, the Pluto card for the 7-year thing that we're going through, which means this is the death and rebirth as a nation. What's the really hard, painful shadow work that we're doing? And we have the 7 of Hearts there, which, let me tell you, totally sucks. There's a lot of emotional pain with that card. And what comes up is disappointment and the need to forgive and the need to find non-attachment. Can you imagine if our nation could find room to forgive and have non-attachment to other people's behaviors, etc.?
Seems like the stuff that comes up every time I hear of like some kind of news story, it actually feels like it's almost being forced upon us to really examine our belief system.
I would say too, there's so much coming at everybody all the time that I think that fire hose mentality probably will eventually help to propel us into non-attachment, because you can't follow it all. It's too much. It's constant. And hopefully what it starts to do is just shut us down to it. So it's just background noise we don't even pay attention to anymore.
And we can go on with our own like personal work and our own personal lives. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Going from this collective psyche down into the individual. And I think that it's not just a generality. I think that's a really big theme of what we're doing here, is going from this kind of this mass mindset, I can't control that, to what can I control? The 8 of Hearts, which I have to say, this 8 of Hearts came up again and again, the finding your balls card, your power. So yeah, that's all about coming back to self. The long range card for this year. Okay, so this is the big billboard for the 61st year in the cycle of the United States. What is our 241st year about? We are asking the question, how are we navigating? We have the 5 of Spades, which is a card of change, travel, relocation. Obviously, we're not going to move, change locations. So the deeper meaning of that card is, how are you navigating? What is the style of your navigation? And the call is to present to your five senses and paying attention to what's around you, which means what pops into my head is don't take a collective this rail or that rail way of thinking. Sit with what is, do the research, and say, what's my response to this? Like Donald Trump says this, left field thing about transgender people in the military. And then that's your opportunity to kind of sit and go, let me really think about that. This is what's coming up. Let me be really present to my own visceral response to what I see going on around me. It's an opportunity to step back and be the observer of our experience and be the observer of our national consciousness. Let's take a look at who we are, and let's just observe for a minute. And it means that there's going to be a lot of restlessness this year too. A lot of, 5 is not a number where we settle on something or anything is predictable. There are themes of 6s for us this year in terms of finding our purpose, finding our destiny. What is it that we're supposed to be doing? But the 5 means there will always be, oh, I think I want to do this. Oh, no, I think that's going to change. There's going to be a lot of changing in navigation. So it's much more important to take some distance and observe that process than get really emotionally attached to where you think you're going. Okay, the other long range card is the 9 of diamonds, which means there's an end of an old value system. 45 years ago, that card meant that we went off the gold standard. A lot of things happened that are happening now. There was Watergate. There was a focus on Chinese relations. The Vietnam War kind of settled down a little bit. Maybe we can expect to see a little settling down of that. But so 9 of diamonds could represent that we have the end of currency. So, we go bankrupt. There could be a really big thing of some kind. Maybe we switch to cryptocurrency. I don't know. There's a lot of talk in the air about our currency. And I think this 9 of diamonds just says that, well, something's ending. So guess what? You need your courage. You're going to be that 8 of hearts from last year is going to be put to the test. Hearts is Pluto to the 9 of diamonds. Find your balls. That's the solution to this ending. Find your courage.
Thank you for watching this episode of Dear Kismet. We would love it if you would subscribe and share. Go to our website, itiskismet.com, to learn more about the Cardology Conference in Vegas in October, to look up your card and cosmic connections, and to ask Dear Kismet a question.